This is a film about how all of us have become Richard.Nixon. Just like him, we have all become paranoid weirdos. It's the story of how television and newspapers did this to us, and how it has paralysed the ability of politics to transform the world for the better. Once upon a time, politicians believed they could change the world. One of them was a Labour MP called Roy.Jenkins.
An attitude of conservatism would be very unbecoming to the Labour movement. We exist to change society.
In the 60s, Jenkins radically reformed Britain. He used his power as Home Secretary to help get rid of laws against homosexuality, abortion and divorce, and oversaw the end of the death penalty. The press and much of the public hated it, but he refused to bow down to the pressure because he was an elitist. He knew it was good for them. But then, Richard.Nixon came to power in America. He saw himself as an outsider, and he hated elites. He was convinced that many in the East Coast establishment secretly ran America in their own interests. Snooty academics, liberal foundations, film stars, heads of big corporations, and even the CIA. In Nixon's mind, they were all part of a hidden, corrupt network. And what's more, they were out to destroy him. So Nixon set up a covert operation to bug and smear all these enemies. But in 1972, they got caught bugging the Democrats in the Watergate building. Nixon tried to cover it up, but he was exposed by the Washington Post. As a result of Watergate, investigative journalists in America and Britain became the heroes of the age. And in the 70s, they uncovered all sorts of bad people.
That's your words. Look.
Who often beat them up. But then, the journalists began to uncover the strangest thing. They found corruption in the heart of the elites who ran their country. Politicians and civil servants took bribes. The security services assassinated people illegally.
Right.
Policemen concocted evidence and sold drugs.
I'm here to look into the disturbing case of Mrs. Joyce Brown.
And even senior doctors covered up terrible mistakes. And as the journalists exposed all this, they began to sound like Richard.Nixon. That there really were hidden conspiracies in the heart of the establishment. And then, in an even odder twist, the journalists found an unlikely ally, Mrs. Thatcher. Mrs. Thatcher wanted to roll back the power of the state. And to her, the professional elites, the civil servants, lawyers, doctors, the broadcasters, were all terrible hypocrites. They talked loudly of public duty, but secretly they were running things in their own interests. So she spent the 80s attacking these groups as a threat to Britain. Helped by Rupert Murdoch, who detested elitism in Britain and America.
They hate to see someone communicating with the masses. They feel that newspapers, the written word is not for the masses. That should be left to television, or perhaps to nobody. But there's a great sort of elitism.
But then, in the 1990s, the journalists became even more like Richard.Nixon. Like him, they started to see hidden enemies everywhere. They were enthusiastically supported in this by some members of the middle-class elites, doctors, psychiatrists and academics, who reinvented themselves as experts, who said that they too could identify dangers lurking just under the surface of our everyday lives that we couldn't see. Experts uncovered hidden threats like sexual abuse, paedophilia, and even networks of satanic abuse on a vast scale.
Doctor believes that many multiple personality patients were sexually abused by satanic cults.
Other experts predicted hundreds of thousands would die from the epidemic of BSE-CJD. Medical experts said that millions of people were going to die from different forms of animal flu.
Doctors have discovered a new disease which they say shows a possible link between autism and the routine childhood vaccine MMR.
Others said that thousands of children were at risk of autism from the MMR jab. Terror experts said there was a global hidden network of sleeper cells that had the power to destroy Western society. and then it got worse. Other experts said you couldn't even trust yourself. Your own body was an enemy.
Obesity is now a disease of epidemic proportions.
It just makes you paranoid. You look at yourself in the mirror every day. I think people just think, I really want to look like that, because it's just everywhere.
More obsessed with food.
I've actually had my stomach stapled and I'm on antidepressants.
Using all the best available science.
30 years ago, journalists bravely exposed the corruption of those in power, like Richard.Nixon. But now, the news and television programmes have ended up taking serious threats to society and exaggerating and distorting them. By doing this, they have created a widespread mood of fear in society and a suspicion of those who lead us. And in the process, millions of us have become exactly like Richard.Nixon, paranoid. And if any politician tried to do what Roy.Jenkins did 40 years ago, to change Britain for the better, against public opinion, we and the press would destroy them. But there is one difference between us and Richard.Nixon. He told his psychiatrist that when he looked in the mirror in the morning, there was no one there. When we look in the mirror in the morning, we think we're too fat.